representing Texas 25th District, Congressman Roger Williams. Congressman, thanks for coming on the program. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having us.
We got a lot of questions to get to with you, COVID relief, the police reform bill, and what's happening to our troops in D.C., but I'm going to start right off with the comments from the Commander-in-Chief, the Biden regime, calling y'all down there Neanderthals.
Well, I heard you say you didn't know if it was a gaffe or he really meant it. I think he probably really meant this one.
Yeah.
But you know, that's okay. I mean, coming from the liberal left, they're gonna attack great states like Texas and so forth. But I would tell you, Governor Abbott did the right thing. He did the right thing at the right time. I mean, Texas from day one has followed instructions on what to do, from social distancing to masks. We've done all that. Now we're beginning to see. We're going to have 7 million people vaccinated by the end of next week. It looks like our bed count is down. It's time to reopen Texas and frankly America. And small business can't take another hit like we took this past year. People got to get back to work, and that's as much taking care of your health as anything else. Getting up, going to work, coming home, having dinner with your family, maybe going to a ball game.
Yeah, and great for mental health, because let's be real. The science, they're always yelling at us, follow the science. If you look at health reports, your mental state, if you're stressed out, if you're worried, if you're nervous, can do physical damage. So if people have been closed down, their business, for a year, they're so mentally stressed out, their health will be declining because of that stress.
Well, no question. And remember, this is coming from our president, who has no problem letting COVID victims come across our border illegally. And let the Neanderthal thinking take care of this. So, look, Governor Abbott did the right thing. I'm excited about it. The people of Texas are excited about getting back to normal. And I think we'll lead the way in COVID comeback.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's working in Florida. We were just there, met you there for the first time at CPAC. Governor DeSantis has got it right. Governor Noem's got it right. South Dakota, right? There's no big spike. Businesses have reopened. Kids are back in the classroom full time in many states. There's no outbreak. So we're following the science like they yelled at us to do all last year, right?
Well, that's right. And you mentioned the kids. The kids got to be in school. They got to be socializing. They've got to be going to their classes, their band practice, their baseball practice. It's time to get back to normal. Texas will lead the way. Florida, South Carolina, Mississippi, others are going to follow, as you know now, because it's okay to do it. And I would think that the president would want to congratulate these states of what we've done. Vaccinations are happening now, so it's a good time to be ready for the summer.
Well, that would be commending a Republican in a red state. I don't think we're going to hear that from this Biden administration, unfortunately. So much for unity, Congressman. I want to pivot now from you guys reopening and bucking these mandates by the federal government to something else that's happening in D.C. with the federal government, and pretty much, I just think, ridiculous bills. Where do I begin? First of all, right now, of course, it's being debated in the Senate today, and thanks to the senator from Wisconsin for having the, 300 pages or 600 pages are going to be read out loud. We're talking about the COVID relief, $1.9 trillion, of which we know we, the people, Congressman, are only getting about 9% of that cash. Why do you think it's so important for people to hear what's in that bill when they read it out loud?
Well, they need to know, because when you talk about COVID relief, everybody's for that, right? We want to do that. And like you said, 9% of this bill has to do with COVID relief. And people need to understand that in this bill is just a lot. It's a grab bag for the liberals. I mean, you're talking about issues. You're talking about life issues. You're talking about illegal. You're talking about amnesty, citizenship. It just goes on and on. Has nothing to do with COVID. And we need a COVID bill, and it would cost a heck of a lot less. There's still money unused that we could use for COVID improvements. So this is a bad bill. Unfortunately, it passed out of the House. Hopefully the Senate will take a look at it and find some reasons to maybe not, which they will. They'll pass it more than likely, but at least send it back with something that's better. And of course, the $15 minimum wage was in there, and it went out. But the Senate's going to take it out now. But it went out of the House. That cost jobs. So it does not help Americans. It actually hurts Americans and hurts the economy and hurts people in working and being able to get a job.
We had on the AG from West Virginia earlier, Patrick Morrissey, Congressman, who he's teamed up now. He's got about a dozen AGs across the country who signed that letter, headed off to the folks in the Senate and the House, talking about H.R. 1, this election reform bill. I don't know what they're calling it, some ridiculous name. But this pretty much goes against the Constitution. This is stripping states of their power to run the elections, the voting process. And we know, after this last election, that there's a lot of work to be done at the state houses in all 50 states reforming this. But now the feds decide they're going to jump in, throw this H.R. 1 down our throats, and pretty much override the states. That's what I get when I read H.R. 1. How about you?
Well, that's what it is. It's the worst legislation I've seen. I mean, even worse than Obamacare. I mean, this is a total takeover of the federal government. It's takeover by the people. I'm glad these AGs have sued because it looks to me like it's unconstitutional. But we don't need the federal government taking over our elections. Like you said, the states are responsible for their elections. We know there's some improvements that can be made by the states. We need to work with that. But the federal government should not take over our elections. They should not control redistricting, for crying out loud, that we do every 10 years. And then they want to 6 times every contribution, $200 or greater. They'll put six times that of federal money in it to help pay for elections. And it takes away the votes of the people. And it's a left-wing grab that I think will not see any daylight going over the Senate.
I want to end with something that's near and dear to me, and that's our troops. I served in the Air Force years ago, and I just read that story, and I'm sure most Americans did yesterday, about our brave Guard troops getting food poisoning in our nation's capital. Why they're still there, I don't have a clue. I mean, the left, of course, is blaming it on nonsense, saying there was going to be attack on the Hill today, blah, blah, blah. They're making excuses to keep them there, which is all political theater, I firmly believe, until the fall now. But anyway, back to the latest story. Food poisoning and metal shavings in their food. We saw a few weeks back that they had them taking their naps in that parking garage on the cold floor. I mean, Speaker Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, you guys demand them there, you keep them there, and then you treat them not much better than your family dog. I would love to have a few words in a private room with those folks who are keeping our brave troops there and treating them like this.
Well, it's sickening. It's sickening. Thanks for your service. And I represent Fort Hood, the largest military base we have in America. Yep. And, we just don't treat our young men and women right that serve. And, of course, the left has a history sometimes of not treating them the way I think they ought to be treated. When you get this story, it literally makes you sick. I mean, you can't move anywhere up there that you don't see these young men and women in uniform. Frankly, they ought to be back home with their families.
Yes.
We got to thank them. And the idea that they wouldn't get the same food that we get, for example, or even better, is unbelievable. I mean, who's deciding this? Who's letting this happen? And you brought up about them sleeping in parking garages. This is the United States of America, the greatest country in the world. And we need to do everything we can for our young men and women. We've asked them to come since, January, since 1st of January to be there. I don't know why they're there either. In fact, we saw them taking barbed wire down last night before we went to bed. But they need to come home. We need to open up Washington. We need to give it back to the people. And we need to thank these young men and women for taking time to do what they did. And I don't even know what their mission really was.
Well, Congressman, they're giving me the hard rap, so it's out of time. And I know you had limited time. I want to thank you for discussion on all these important topics today. And I'm so glad to hear that your governor and all of you are on board with reopening. I can't wait to come down, listen to some great music, eat some barbecue, hang out at a lake. You got it all in the Lone Star State.
We're wide open for business. Come on.
All righty. Congressman, really appreciate it. Roger Williams of the 25th District down there in Texas. You take care. Be safe, sir.
Okay, Dan.